2025 is rapidly coming to a close, and so I wanted to go ahead and hop on here and talk about my top 10 movies that I watched for 2025. Now, the full disclaimer, this is not brand new movies that got released in 2025. These are movies that I have watched that are new to me that I had never seen before and that I added to my Letterboxd profile. Now, these are just the top 10 that ended up standing out to me that I rated the highest. However, there were so many great movies this year. I'm not going to lie, this was a tremendous year for movies for me. Everything that is on this list is 4 stars or higher for the top 10, and I have no regrets on any of them. And so with this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank my top 10 movies, talk about them in very brief detail, just about 2 to 3 minutes, so that way we're not sitting here forever talking about them. So starting off at number 10, I do have a newer movie that ended up getting released a month or two ago, and that is going to be The Running Man. Now, I actually really enjoyed this movie. This genuinely, I've been one of the biggest haters on Glenn Powell because I genuinely feel like he is not there as an actor most of the time. He is more there to just sit there and look pretty, more or less. And this movie turned that all around for me. This is by far, to me, the greatest acting gig that Glenn Powell has ever had, and I thought that this was a really great job portraying that. This movie has top-tier filmmaking just in general. Every single scene is an action scene, and it's one after another. You do not slow down under any stretch. You keep going the entire time. Now, the only reason I couldn't really go any higher is because while this was a fantastic action movie, I felt like it was missing some of the key points that would have drew this to a 5 out of 5. So the first things first, I just felt like the connection between him and his wife was not exactly there at the beginning. The first 15 minutes, pretty much up until the time that he does go to the games, it does seem incredibly rushed. I wish I would have gotten more of a connection that was built between him and his wife and between even him and his child. Obviously, you see the moment where he cares about her, but it's only like 5 to 10 minutes long. It's so rushed that there's no build up, and it's really hard to get that connection. Lastly, just wasn't a huge fan of the ending. I just feel like it left me a little bit unsatisfied. The entire reason that he ended up going on the show was so that way he was able to take care of his family. Yet we didn't see how his life was any different at the end of it. Did he end up getting the money? Did he end up reconnecting with his family outside of the show? The only time we ever saw them was at the grocery store scene, and he was in a mask, so we didn't see them after these games at all. I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit of a knot tie on that one, but overall, fantastic movie. Really enjoyed it. It is your typical family night action movie, but it is some of Glenn Powell's best acting for sure. Coming in at number 9, I do have The Wild Robot. Now, this movie obviously got released back in 2024, but this was one that I didn't get around to until this year, and I'm really glad that I did. This is a true family-friendly film for all ages. There's a lot of real-world issues in this, but they all worked out by adding like funny quips and awesome animations for the kids. So when you're watching this, it's for the kids, obviously, but there are some serious adult-like lessons that you can take away from it. And this film is really well done. I really love the animation on it. I really love the voice acting on it. It was really funny. And I'm not gonna lie, I could have watched for another 30 minutes without being bored. I did not have to sit there because I watched this at home, obviously, with it coming out a year later. I ended up watching this at home, and I didn't have to look at my phone. I didn't get up to do anything. I was completely dialed into this movie, and I think that good movies just do that. So this is another one that I really enjoyed. That is why it's in my top 10. Now, coming in at number 8, I do have the movie Drop. Now, this movie ended up coming out in April of this year, and I'm not going to lie to you. If you like the types of movies such as Carry On, Trap, or even Missing, you are going to love this movie, which is why I loved it. I love those style of movies, and Carry On was probably one of my favorite movies that I ended up watching last year when it got released to Netflix. So, just keep that in mind, but I really did love it. So I'm going to go ahead and start by saying the acting in this is fantastic. So starting from Megan Feige all the way down to Brendan Sklenar, the acting in this was absolutely fantastic. You root for both sides of this relationship. They're on a first date, and as they're on this first date, she keeps getting these drop messages, like airdrop messages, stating that her son is in danger, but she's not allowed to say anything because, you know, the person is holding her kid hostage. And it is incredibly fun. You individually meet every single character that it could possibly be, and you see reasons as to why it could be them behind it all, because we know as airdrops, just in general, you have to be within a certain radius to be able to drop those. So this person has to be close, but who is the one that's behind it all? And you start to figure out, you're introduced to all the different suspects of the movies, and they make it very straightforward with who they want you to believe it is. But with all these series of twists and turns and action, and you know, the last like 20 minutes is like one huge action movie. It was really good. I love this style of movie. I love this type of movie. So I do want to make that abundantly clear. But these two characters, the two main characters, were so charismatic and they work so well together, which is something that you truly have to have in a movie like this, because it's all in one setting. You're in the restaurant the entire movie, and it's like real runtime. So it's supposed to portray like a 2 hour date with somebody, and all of this is going on at the same time. I really love this. I thought that Sklenar was fantastic in this movie, so hopefully we do see him more in Hollywood, which it looks like we did in The Housemaid. But I haven't got out to watch that movie yet, so I can't talk about it. But he was really good. I really enjoyed this movie, and so that's why it's at number 8 for me. Coming in at number 7, I do have Zootopia 2. Now, this movie, I really enjoyed it. This was one of the movies that, you know, it is a true sequel from the first Zootopia. It is quite literally a week or two after the first Zootopia ends up happening, and you pick up right where you left off. It extends the story of the Zootopia world and presents another astounding journey between Hobbs and Wilde. So starting off, this movie was really fun. The journey between Hobbs and Wilde and the wild twists along the way truly made this such a fun experience to be a part of. And not to mention that, but the characters were so fun. Not only just Judy and Nick, but you get introduced to people like Gary the Snake, Nibbles the podcasting beaver, and then you get the fun cameo of Flash returning. It was a lot of fun to be a part of. And truly, there were so many different lessons and things to take away, whether you were a kid or whether you were an adult watching this movie. And so it really was a joy to watch. You were able to get laughs, you were able to get tear-jerking moments, and you just got a really amazing experience. The only thing that I wasn't a huge fan of, and obviously it makes a ton of sense for the style of movie that it is, but there was a ton of plot armor. There's no hiding that. There was a ton of plot armor, and as it should. It's a kids movie. You don't want anything bad to happen to these characters, and I do understand that, but it did seem almost a little over the top when I'm watching this film. So Zootopia 2 does fall at number 7 on this list. Coming in at number 6, I do have Marty Supreme. This is the newest adaptation to this 2025 list. That is the most recent new movie that I watched as of Christmas Eve, and this movie was awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you, this movie was awesome. It was able to portray that the desire for money and the desire for success is the true root of all evil, and it goes to show it. This movie is one giant hustle from start to finish, and they portray this movie to be a ping pong movie, a movie about a guy that really wants to be successful playing ping pong, and you know, just being able to create a career out of it. That really wasn't it at all. The movie had such little amounts of ping pong actually being played in it, and it was more about the general journey that it took to get to where he wanted to be. The struggles that he had to face along the way were truly just kept getting worse and worse as time goes on. He is doing things that have him completely humiliated in front of billionaires. Quite literally, if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But he is doing absurd things to get to where it is that he wants to be. Timothy Chalamet, I will obviously touch base on that. He's on full display here. This dude can just act, from the Dune movies to Beautiful Boy to even the silly version of him in Wonka, and now back to the very serious version of him in Marty Supreme. This man, he just takes his roles so serious, and it pays off for him so well, and as well for the viewers. Like, as we're watching it, it pays off for us how serious this man takes his roles. So you know, he sat there and practiced ping pong for like 7 years. Like, this man is dialed in to his roles, and it's a fantastic watch. Last thing that I will touch on for this movie, cinematography is absolutely fantastic in this movie, because there's a scene that I just can't stop thinking about, truly. There's a scene where in the final match, it's in one big stage setting, right? And we have this third person view of a kid climbing up a ladder, And as the kid is making his way to the front of the audience so that way he can see, there is a point in time he climbs up the ladder and he goes to the front of the line, and it switches from third person to first person from that kid, and it was such a smooth transition, but it was awesome, and it actually made my jaw drop because of how well the cinematography is. So if you're a movie enjoyer and you love things like the way that the movies are shot, this is a movie for you. Now, coming in at number 5, I do have Superman. So this is one of the DCU adaptations, and I'm not gonna lie, this one was awesome. If you are a comic book fan, you are going to adore this movie. This movie truly felt like it was, if you took a comic book and you somehow took it out and plastered it onto a movie screen, that's what this one felt like. The way that the scenes in the action shots were zoomed in on, the way that they were like still shots, almost as if they are in the comic book panels, it was seriously so cool. The actual editing of this film was phenomenal. Also, this movie is a very different feeling based on what the actual superhero genre typically is, because there is no introduction to the actual character. There's like some on-screen text that talks about like who Superman is, but that's about it. Other than that, that's only about a minute long. Immediately after that, you see Superman just being thrown into battle, and that's how it goes. And action is from then until the end of the movie for about 75% of it. You do get like a really cool like couple of scenes with him and Lois, but outside of that, it's mostly just action, and it was awesome. However, going off of that, we just didn't really see a ton of moments with Superman and Lois, and I get why they did that, but those were some of my favorite moments, when it was with Lois, when it was with his family, when it was with Crypto, and I feel like you didn't get a ton of those moments in this movie, and I do wish you would have gotten a little bit more than that. Nonetheless, the acting was awesome in this movie. I thought that it was a fantastic movie overall. I really enjoyed it. And Crypto was probably the cutest live action superhero dog that they could have come up with, so just a true perfect production of this movie. Now, coming in at number 4, I do have Sinners. Now, this is a very, very popular one that I'm not going to touch too much on, but essentially what it is it's Michael B. Jordan. He has 2 different roles of playing twin brothers, and each of them have a very distinct personality between the two, and it is so surreal. One of them is nothing like the other, and Michael B. Jordan is able to act as 2 completely different people all at the same time. So I have to give my highest praise to Michael B. Jordan. If I ever got some sort of a vote for, best acting job, it would definitely go to him. I think he was fantastic in this movie, and it was really good. Now, the next thing that I wanted to touch on is that this movie was a very interesting take on a horror film, because it was from an era of like the 1930s, but it adds in like a really killer soundtrack, and it displays like the cultural shift of music throughout the ages and various different groups of people, and it adds in like 30 to 45 minutes of action. So it was a very well done, very well paced movie that I really did enjoy. The action sequences in this movie, I would not have pictured them to go any better than what they were. The scenes with the gunshots, the scene with the snake, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but that was one of the coolest scenes I've seen all year. And then the scenes with the vampires and officially getting into the juke joint, which is their little dance bar that they had, the scene of the preacher boy finally getting rid of the vampires, the blood that was shed. It was a fantastic action sequence overall, and I did love this movie, which is why it's at number 4. The only reason I couldn't go any higher is simply for the fact that I'm just not a horror movie guy. That's not anything against the movie at all, and I think if I was into horror movies, this would probably be number 1 on my list, but I just couldn't go any higher than 4 just because horror movies are not really my thing. Coming in at number 3, I do have Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now, this movie left me speechless. I love this movie. This was a vintage superhero movie, the one that gives you all the feels of early Marvel films, and I could not have appreciated that anymore. I love the fact that the setting of this movie took place in the 1960s, but it was still futuristic enough to where it would be like high tech for the 1960s, and I feel like that's really hard to portray with all the new technology that we do have. But right then in that movie, they did it, and I'm so grateful for it. Made an awesome movie. In this movie, they were able to provide the backstory of, in this movie they were able to provide the backstory of who the Fantastic Four actually were, and they did not try to tie in any additional MCU plot lines or timelines into the film up until the post-credit scene, obviously. But it truly felt like a real superhero movie that wasn't being held down by the amount of like bad Marvel movies that we've gotten in the last few years. It was a true standalone that did not have to be, you didn't have to watch the last 10 movies to figure out what it was that they were talking about. This was a true standalone where they restarted the movie, they restarted this timeline, if you will, and I loved it. The acting in this movie is something that I just have to talk about. Pedro Pascal playing a down-to-earth father figure and a family man was not really one that I had on my bingo card when I first saw the casting for it. I didn't know how that was going to go, but now that I've seen it, I want even more of it. I know one of the movies that, or the TV shows that I really want to watch is The Last of Us. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do want to watch that, especially if he kind of plays a similar role in that. The family had such an amazing connection with each other too, and it truly was able to be shown in this film. The power of their family, the lengths in which they will go to for their family when it comes to that time of need, it was so incredible. It tied in a family connection that you could actually feel, like you could feel how close they were as a family, and I really enjoyed that too. The only thing that I had a little bit of a con about, which this could have easily been a 5-star movie, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I did keep it at 4.5 for the simple fact that I thought that Galactus was so easily taken down. I really hated that just because the Sue Storm, she had the ability to turn ships invisible. The Human Torch, he has the ability to obviously fly and light himself on fire. The Thing is able to destroy anything in his path, and it seemed like the only person that was really involved in the entire infight was really just Sue. So I obviously understand that she had to be the one that ended the battle, so that way we could see what Baby Franklin actually had in store for us and give us a snippet of what his powers could entail. But it just seemed like it was a movie about the Fantastic Four. All four of them should be taken down together, and we didn't get that. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but it was still a very good movie nonetheless, which is why it's coming in at number 3 for me. Coming in at number 2, this is an older movie. I never got around to it. I'm beating myself up that I never got around to it at this point. But at number 2, I have The Greatest Showman, coming out in 2017. This movie, I never gave it a chance, and there was no reason for it. It truly just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I was thinking about. It wasn't something that I was yearning for. But oh my goodness, I wish I would have saw it earlier. After watching this movie, the soundtrack is probably one of the best that I've seen out of any movie, not just musicals, but out of any movie in particular. You felt all of the feelings that they wanted you to feel with the music. They portrayed all of their feelings with music, and it was awesome. Hugh Jackman was awesome in this movie too, as a man who truly had lost sight of who he was becoming. Between his wide range of vocals and seeing the connections that he had with the characters, Hugh Jackman was just awesome in this film. The movie also did such an incredible job of telling a story with a lot of meaning. You can lose your sights on a career or to take care of your family. You can lose sight of the ones that you care about when you are gaining popularity, stuff like that. Always taking a chance on people, even if they aren't exactly like you. I feel like there was just so many lessons that could be learned outside of this movie that you could get just by simply watching it. So the actual acting was in this movie was awesome. The cinematography in this movie was awesome. The soundtrack was awesome. I have absolutely no flaws with this movie, but there was just one that I liked a little bit more. So coming in at number 1, I have F1 starring Brad Pitt. I loved this movie, and even in my Letterboxd review as of July 7th of 2025, I had put on there that this could easily be movie of the year for me, and here we are talking about the movies of the year, and here is number 1. The cinematography of this movie is pure bliss, to say the least. With the racing scenes, you truly felt like you were in the car with them, which is obviously, it's made by the same people that did Top Gun Maverick, so of course you're going to get that feeling, but it was so amazing. It felt like you were actually in the car with Brad Pitt or with the actor that was, doing that scene. But the acting in this movie is amazing as well. Brad Pitt truly dropped another acting masterpiece. So he is able to do so many different things, from Moneyball to Across the Tracks, and he played such a great character in this movie. And his counterpart in this movie, which is Damson Idris, I believe is how you say his name, also was S tier acting. He played the role perfectly of a kid who had like a huge ego at one point in time and had the privilege of having money very early on. So you see the cockiness, you see the ego, you see the maturity, but most importantly, you see development in this movie. He starts out as that. He starts out as cocky. He starts out as having an ego. He's very immature. But as it goes on, he becomes a winner. He just becomes someone that wants to win, and he wants to do whatever it can be, and it doesn't have to just be him. And you can see his mind and his tone in general just shift, and it was awesome. And finally, the love interest for Brad Pitt in this movie was played by the actress, excuse me, of Carrie Condon, and it was awesome. The love interest that they had in between each other, it was witty, it was funny, the connection they had, it was just there. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but when you are watching two people that just have a connection and you're watching them on screen, they just click. And it seemed like Brad Pitt and Carrie, they really just clicked. So they worked so well together, and I was really excited to see how the final results went with this movie and what people had to say about them, because that couple was awesome. Not to mention, the movie itself was beautiful. It was an amazing theater experience. I went to go watch it in one of the IMAX theaters, and so I was seeing the action, I was seeing the beauty, I was seeing the excitement from friends and family and other people that were watching it. It was just such a well-produced movie. So if you get a chance to watch this movie, it is now out on, I believe it's on Apple TV now. So if you are watching this movie, shut off the lights, turn the volume up, get a blanket, get some popcorn, make it a movie theater experience for you, and I guarantee you that you're going to like this movie just as much as I did. So those are my top 10 movies for 2025. Now, there were a couple that were very close to being on this list, including two that just came out not too long ago in the new Knives Out movie, as well as One Battle After Another. Now, both of those, I ended up watching them. They're just outside my top 10, so obviously they are not bad movies under any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, lists are very subjective based on the person that is reviewing them, and I just like the other ones more. So let me know what your top 10 movies were for 2025. If you agree with any of these, if you disagree with any of these, is there any other movie that you think should be in the top 10 that I ended up leaving out? So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Austin from Fiction and Flicks, and I'll see you in the next screening.